Hello, one and all, and welcome to PTV FC. I'm your host this week, Jimmy Bliss, and I'm as always by Louie Pasculli. But we have a special guest on this show, and that is my good friend Joe Cammarota. It's Louie's 21st episode, Joe's first. But before we jump into the action, Louie and Joe, tell us all back home. How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you guys for having me on. I'm excited to get underway, man. Big week as a Spurs fan.
Yeah, I'm happy that we're able to branch out, get other people on the show. Ryan, we're still thinking about you, buddy. Don't worry. You're not getting replaced. Or maybe you are. I guess we'll see how the show goes.
From one London team fan to another, two sides of the North London derby between Joe with his Spurs and Ryan with his Arsenal team. But we'll be back next week. Don't you fear, everyone back home. As Joe just mentioned, there were big changes this week in North London as Tottenham has sacked Nuno Espirito Santo and hired former Juventus, Chelsea, and Milan manager Antonio Conte. So, Joe, you get the floor first. What do you think of this appointment to fire Nuno and then to bring in someone like Antonio Conte?
So let me first get over Nuno, because Nuno seems like a wonderful person. I kind of feel bad for him just because, he never really had the squad behind him. They never really cared for him. Everyone knew he wasn't who Tottenham wanted. He seemed like a genuine person, but his tactics just weren't right. I mean, one thing before I get a little bit more into detail, I don't know if you guys noticed, no Spurs player made a post about, oh, thank you, Nuno. None of that happened. The Spurs players just did not care about Nuno. They just didn't like him. Even Jose, who had a falling out with the club at the end, his reign obviously didn't go that well. He still got multiple thank yous and posts on social media. Nuno got nothing. But here was my problem with Nuno. Yes, he won Manager of the Month in August. Yes, he started off great. Spurs were top of the league at one point. But there was no real attacking plan, if that made sense. There was no real tactics, especially if you watch the last few weeks of Spurs footy. You don't really know what's going on the offensive side. You can get it into the final third perfectly fine. Spurs did that a lot. I mean, if you look at the West Ham game a couple of weeks ago, they would consistently get the ball into the final third. The problem was they couldn't get it into the box at all. And part of the reason for that is they don't really have a true creative player right now. They need another Eriksen type player. So I'm hoping Conte can bring someone in for that, to fill that role. But overall, I mean, the defense was okay. It looked a little bit better, but offensively, it was really just relying on individual brilliance from Son because Kane was a ghost because he didn't want to be there. So you needed Son to perform magic, which he was clearly capable of. If you see the City game, you see the Watford game. Yes, the Watford game. But overall, it just really wasn't really clicking for him there. There was the United game was just awful. I mean, no shots on target, I think, throughout the whole game. That's just not Tottenham Hotspur. Nuno came in when he got hired and said, we're going to make you proud. He did not make a single Spurs fan proud. He did not. Tottenham Hotspur is known for being expansive, attacking football, and we just did not get that under him. Now, transitioning, we got Antonio Conte, who I just want to say, I made a prediction a while back that I said Jose would win at least one title, at least one title with Spurs, trophy with Spurs, and probably two. I was wrong. I'm not going to do that with Conte. I don't think we're going to win anything with him just because I think we're not going to end up getting the deadwood out of the club who consistently sabotage every single manager they have. And I don't think the board's really going to back Conte to what he needs to be back to. So, but I'm excited because obviously there's potential. Everyone's always excited when there's a new manager. But at least now I know there's going to be a tactical plan to attack. I know there's going to be a plan of going into a game knowing what's going to happen. With Nuno in charge, again, I'm not trying to crap on Nuno. I really hope he's okay mentally and everything, and he is successful somewhere because he really does seem like a genuine good person. But I would go into games and being like, I don't think we're going to – we need to win 1-0 or we're going to lose. There was just no attacking plan there. So I'm hoping and I'm expecting with Conte that that's going to change.
I think it will change, and I'm actually kind of surprised you're not optimistic enough to predict a Premier League championship, because I think if there's a guy to do it, it's this guy. I know Jimmy has talked about him before. Jimmy is a big Conte fan, and we're talking about a guy who is just coming off of a Serie A championship win with Inter Milan, who is a big club. So that was his most recent. He also won with Chelsea, and he won with a few times with Juventus, like probably like 8-10 years ago now. Wow, that's a long time. I didn't think it was that long. But regardless, right, this guy is the real deal. He is that guy, pal, 100%. I also like the fact that he typically runs the 3-5-2. I think that'll be good for Tottenham. I'm sure, Joe, you could talk about more about that than I could because you know the team a little bit better than me. But nevertheless, you're right. The attacking plan will be there. He's going to find ways to score. He's going to find ways to use Kane effectively, regardless of if he wants to be there or not, because Kane is still, one of the best strikers in the Premier League when he's in form. So taking advantage of him and getting the team to play well, I think is a strong suit of Conte. And I am looking forward to see how they play because I think it will be an improvement.
Improvement is definitely necessary here at Tottenham. And Joe, piggybacking off of your point that you made earlier, where it was like Tottenham almost had no attacking threat, no tactics. It reminded me a lot of when I started watching soccer as a Man United fan, when Louis van Gaal was in charge. It was just kind of like every man for themselves. Everyone just tried to do what they possibly can to score. But there were like something like 8 to 10 straight games where Manchester United didn't score a single goal. And that reminded me a lot of Tottenham over the past month or so. And of course, the final nail in the coffin was when Tottenham won Manchester United, which you and I, Joe, we joked as it was El Sacico, but you eventually won El Sacico in the battle of two of us wanting our managers to get sacked, unfortunately for me. And you took the manager that I wanted to take charge of my Manchester United. And so that's a great appointment by Tottenham. Even Cesc Fabregas, the former Chelsea and former Arsenal player, said it was a huge appointment by Tottenham to get someone like Antonio Conte. And this isn't a shot at Tottenham, but earlier this week marked 5,000 days since Tottenham last won a major trophy. And that was in 2008. It was a League Cup victory over Chelsea. And I'm not sure if Conte will end that drought this year, but I'm certain that he will at some point. I think he needs to have, I want to say, 2 transfer windows in order to get his players in. He needs his wing backs. He needs a defensive-minded midfielder, a good creator, like Joe said. So it's interesting to see how he'll line up Tottenham with a 3-4-3 or 3-5-2, depending on what he thinks is best for each game. But I'm expecting big things out of Antonio Conte, who went to Tottenham instead of my beloved Manchester United after all. But anyway, we're going to move on, and we're going to stick to another London club with West Ham, and they impressed this week. At least they very much impressed me, defeating Aston Villa 4-1 in Villa Park. So, Louie, we're going to you first. We know West Ham is one of your favorite teams. Is this the year that West Ham finally finishes in the top 5 or potentially even the top 4 in the Premier League?
Is that even a question posed to me? Of course I want to say yes. Over the summer transfer window, I wrote like a 2,000-word article detailing why they'd be playing in European competition again. Joe, if you don't agree with me, I suggest checking it out. But I'm going to basically detail and explain what I said in that article right here, but I'm going to summarize it, right? Okay. Manager, David Moyes. He is a winner. He brings a winning culture everywhere he goes. I don't remember the exact year, but since the Premier League started, when it got rebranded as the Premier League, he is the second winningest manager in all of the Premier League. Not the top player of English football, but since it was rebranded. That's impressive. That's not going to change. He's going to keep winning games as he's done consistently. Michael Antonio already notched 6 goals. He's on pace to score more than he did last year. He's on pace for about 18 right now, give or take. And Thomas Tuchel is not having as big of a role in the club as he did last year, which is good because I feel like he was like doing everything last year. He was playing defense, and then also he was getting up field and scoring goals when necessary. Fabianski and the defense both have been playing very, very well. They have a 1.1 goal against average, and they have 3 clean sheets through only 10 games. I didn't know how the defense would play, to be honest, but they're playing fairly decent in my opinion. I'll take that all day. And Declan Rice is coming into his zone. He has 3 goals and 3 assists so far. And Aston Villa is not a bad team. A 4-1 scoreline against Aston Villa, who could finish in the top 10 of the Premier League, is awesome for me. I like that they went out and they took control of that game and they won. They beat Tottenham, which is always a good sign. And I don't want to put a number on it. I don't know if it's going to be 4th. I don't know if it's going to be 5th. It could be 6th. But I think they will find a way to play some sort of European competition come next year.
Yeah, I think so too. But don't forget the Conference League thing too. So that could be European Conference.
I'm not counting that. That is what it is. You're right. Technically, by technicality, it is. But I don't want them to play in that.
So here's my issue with West Ham, right? Because I kind of see what you're saying, but 2 things. One, They beat Tottenham because Harry Kane decided he didn't want to mark Antonio. If he gave half a, I don't know if we're allowed to curse on here, but if he gave half a crap, the game ends 0-0, okay? So there they should have got a draw. They're playing Villa, who Dean Smith has arguably been one of the worst managers in the Premier League and this season, because he just doesn't know what he's doing. I mean, they what's the word for it? They lost Jack Grealish, and I thought they'd still be okay. I thought they were going to be great with Jack Grealish. Without Grealish, I thought they'd be okay, but they haven't been that good. Let's look up the table right now. Let me look this up right now. I probably should look this up beforehand, but Villa is 15th and has won 1 in the last 5. They're not a good team this year. They're just not. Beating them 4-1, I thought Villa would be much better, but they really aren't. But a 4-1 victory is a 4-1 victory, right? That's a good result. But I think at some point injuries are going to catch up to West Ham. I think at some point they're going to start falling down. I think they'll finish top 7. I think they're good enough to do that. I really like Moyes. I think he's a great coach for West Ham. But I think Arsenal's picking it up. I really do. I think Arsenal could sneak into top 4. Man United, I don't know what's going on with them, but they have Ronaldo. He's inevitable. They're going to find a way to finish top 5. Then it's going to be West Ham versus Spurs for 6th. Apparently, Levy's giving Conte a $100 million war chest to make transfers in January. If that's the case, and Spurs sell their deadwood, and they're able to, and Conte is able to figure out what formation everything he wants to play, I think they finish above West Ham. I think West Ham finishes 7th this year. I'm sorry, I just do. I just don't think if Nuno was still in charge of Spurs, I think yes, they get Europa League. Don't think it's happening with these changes.
And I'm pretty much on the same wavelength as you guys. I think that West Ham, I don't think they're good enough to finish top 4, but I wouldn't put it past them to finish number 5 this season. And I know that Aston Villa hasn't been very good this year. I was with you, Joe. I thought that Aston Villa was going to be very, very good this year. They brought in Leon Bailey. They brought in all these other players to pretty much make up for the Jack Grealish role, because you can't just replace Jack Grealish with one player. You bring in all these other players that do Jack Grealish type stuff, whether it's assisting, whether it's dribbling, all this other stuff that he does. But they've had some impressive wins. Like they beat Leicester 4-1. They've beaten Leeds. They've beaten Everton. They beat Tottenham, and they even beat Man City in the FL Cup as well. So they have a few pretty good wins to their name. But if they are to finish top 4, the top 5, I think that they will need to sacrifice the Europa League if they're going to do anything like that. Just like you mentioned, Joe, I don't think that they have the squad depth in order to go far in both the competition in the Europa League and in the Premier League as well. Because if you get one injury to a midfielder, whether it be Souček or Rice, a completely different team. They usually play those two in the double pivot. But if you are losing one of them and you have to play Mark Noble or someone else in that midfield, it's just completely different. I think that, honestly, right now, if I had to give a prediction, I think that they're going to finish, I don't know if I can give them a necessary number, either 5 or 6 is what I'm going to say. I don't know if Leicester will be as bad for the remainder of the year, because they usually start off really good and then end really badly. That's what they've been doing over the past 2 seasons. But this year is kind of a role reversal where they've started off really badly. But I do think they're going to kick on. They're going to be okay starting in a week or two's time. I think they'll be okay and they'll win some more games. But right now, not top 4, top 5, definitely within reach for West Ham. As long as they get a few good results, hold their own against the top 4 and potentially win a game or 2 against a Chelsea, a Liverpool, Man United, then I think they definitely will be a top 5 team. But anyway, we're going to move to a different country now. We're going to go to Germany, where Robert Lewandowski has been lighting it up recently with 22 goals in 16 games in all competitions for Bayern Munich. So, Joe, I'm going to go to you first. Do you think that Lewandowski is the best player in the world right now?
No, I think it's Salah. And the only reason I say that is because the competition for Salah is harder than the competition is for Lewandowski. I don't want to take away too much from what Louie's doing because he's amazing. But Salah's putting 3 in past De Gea, Harry Maguire, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Luke Shaw at Old Trafford. I don't think Lewandowski does that. I don't think he does that. And then we're seeing Salah do this week in and week out, and I just think the Premier League is harder than the Bundesliga. And I also think it's more impressive for a winger what he does as a winger than what a striker can do. I mean, I'm not saying Lewandowski's a poacher by any means, but he has great service all the time. Salah, I should say, sometimes he has to create a little bit more for himself than Lewandowski does. So I think that's why I lean towards Salah.
Yeah, that's a fair take. I definitely see what you mean because you're right. I think overall the competition in the Premier League is more competitive, is more challenging than the Bundesliga. In honor of Ryan Johnston, yes, Lewandowski is the greatest of all, not greatest of all time, excuse me, the best player in the world currently. But I don't know if I can definitively say that. I think he's top 3 for sure. But I haven't really thought of this too much. I'm still thinking. I'm still trying to decide where I should place Lewandowski in terms of the best players in the world. But I will say that this guy is someone that has been playing very, very well for a very, very long time. We've been talking about how great Lewandowski's been since I first got into soccer. I mean, in FIFA 15, he was a 92 overall, and then in FIFA 21, he's a 92 overall. Now, FIFA overalls don't really translate to real life, but what I'm trying to say is he has scored goals. He's won multiple golden boots for the Bundesliga. And yes, one could argue that he's on a great team that is Bayern Munich, but regardless, Lewandowski still finds ways to produce both in the Champions League and in the Bundesliga. So he's definitely up there. Am I willing to say number 1? No, but one of the best? Yes, definitely.
Interesting take from the two of you guys, and I'm actually gonna go with the opposite of what you two said. I'm gonna say that Lewandowski is probably the best player in the world. I wrote an article actually in the summer, WSOU. So if you have a few minutes, you can go over WSOU Sports and you can check that out. And over the summer, I ranked Lewandowski as the number 2 player in the world, only behind Lionel Messi. And right now, Lionel Messi, not his Messi stuff. He's not playing as well as he usually does with PSG. So I have to bump him down a step or 2. And that leaves Lewandowski as the number 1 player in the world. I do respect Mo Salah. He is doing a lot right with Liverpool, and he's obviously in incredible form, scoring the hat-trick at Old Trafford, just kind of tearing through pretty much every team that he's playing against now. But Lewandowski, you can't argue against these stats that he has 8.74 match rating in the Champions League this year. He has 8 goals, 4 appearances. He got an assist yesterday as well. Absolutely ridiculous, lighting it up. And then if you go over to the Bundesliga and you say, okay, if he's doing Champions League, how's he doing in the Bundesliga? Got an 8.17 rating in the Liga with 12 goals in 10 games. He has 5 Men of the Match awards between the Champions League and the Bundesliga. And pretty much every time I see Bayern Munich play, he gets on the score sheet. Ridiculous. Every single time that I check the ESPN app, I see Robert Lewandowski with either a goal, 2, or 3 next to his name. And above that, he also had 3 goals in the Euros this summer. So he for club and for country. Salah, of course, he can do it for club and country as well. But I think at this current moment, if we are playing a backyard soccer or football game, I would take Robert Lewandowski right before I would take Mohamed Salah, just because he's going to be finishing.
A backyard soccer game, you want the guy who can't dribble? I'd rather have the dribbler, the more tech guy than the pure goal scorer.
I'd rather have the guy that can score goals more consistently.
I mean, I see what you're saying. I mean, yeah, Louie is definitely top 3. He's definitely top 3. But Salah's that guy.
Well,
I think if you take each one of those guys off a team, right? So say you take Salah off Liverpool and Lewandowski off Bayern, I think Liverpool loses a beat before a little bit more than Bayern does. I mean, I'd like to know your opinion on that, though. Do you agree? Do you disagree?
I think that they both miss it, obviously, but what I think is we saw how Bayern did in the Champions League without Lewandowski last year, where they played PSG and they just couldn't score. I think they had 1 goal over the 2 games. And of course, PSG's defense is good, but their defense isn't in the world right now. And Salah, Salah is obviously really, really good. I think that he is a of Jurgen Klopp, though. I think that if you have Mo Salah on a different team like Chelsea or Man City, he's still going to be great. But I think that he won't be up to the standard he is right now with Liverpool. Was under a different manager. I think the best manager in the world. And so he just knows how to utilize every single player on his team. Whereas Robert Lewandowski's done it for so many different managers. For Hansi Flick last year, he's doing it for Nagelsmann this year. He's done it under Carlo Ancelotti. He's everywhere he's been. He even did it under Jurgen Klopp with Dortmund about 9 years ago now, or years ago with Dortmund. So I just think that it's very close, but I think Lewandowski has the edge a little. Be my Manchester United bias. Really, no, I can't admit to my Manchester United bias, but I do think that if you give me the choice between the two of them, I'm going with Robert Lewandowski. Lou, do you have any closing thoughts?
Well, now I'm rethinking my decision because both you guys are making good arguments. I mean, on one hand, Jimmy's making me want to say, yeah, definitively he's the best. And then Joe's like bringing me back to my original take, which was like, no, he's top 3, he's not the best. So maybe there's another one I'll have to think over. And maybe next episode, I'll throw it in there at random so the viewers can maybe pick up on it. I'll just.
Where's Ryan Johnson? Get him here.
That's true. That's very true.
He needs to be the tiebreaker.
You're right. That's a good point. Ryan, you're not getting replaced simply for the fact that we need you next episode.
Yeah, we definitely need a 4-man booth here. And then, of course, Cooper Mateus. We'll make it an affair here for PTV FC. Anyway, we're going to move on to our final question of the day. And that is going to be talking about Barcelona. After drawing to Alaves on Saturday, Barcelona dropped to 9th place in La Liga. 9 points behind league leaders Real Sociedad, who do have a hand. They're 8 points behind the other team in La Liga, which is Real Madrid. They've recently sacked manager Koeman with Xavi rumored to replace him. So we're going to go to you, Louie, first. Do you think Xavi can turn this around, or is Barcelona a sinking ship?
No, I think Xavi can turn it around. We have to first see how he is as a manager, because not every great player turns out to be a great manager, right? But he was in the engine room for all of those amazing Barcelona teams, and he helped pioneer them to all those victories, the Champions League, the La Liga. So he knows what it takes to win. And currently, he is managing a team in the Qatar Stars League, and he's won 8 games and drawn 1 and lost 0. He has 25 points through 9 games, which is pretty impressive, even if they do play in Qatar. But regardless, I am excited to see how he pans out with Barcelona. I think that they needed a change. I think this will be a positive change. I don't know if we'll have a Thomas Tuchel effect where he takes over and they just are amazing. But I definitely think he is capable of righting the ship. And I don't think they will keep losing points, keep losing places when he takes over, if he does.
Yeah, so Barcelona's not good enough, just talent-wise, to make up a gap, fight for the title. They'll be lucky if they make Champions League this year, and I mean that in the most respectful way possible. They're just not a good team. I don't know Xavi's tactics, so I don't really know how it'll fit with Barcelona. I don't know what he runs. I don't know if he runs a 4-2-3-1, a 4-3-3, a 3-4-3. I really no clue. But I mean, you could argue.
This website says a 4-2-3-1.
4-2-3-1. Okay. Well, so that could definitely work with Barcelona. I want to see Fati really get going. I think he's a future star. I think De Jong could really fit well in that system as well. But just overall, they just don't have good players. Barcelona, you're known for having the best players in the world. They have maybe one. De Jong would be Frankie De Jong might be the best, might be the only world class player you can say on that team. Unless I'm missing, am I missing someone? Ter Stegen certainly isn't. They don't have Messi.
I would say Ter Stegen. Ter Stegen's the only one that's close. I feel like because Depay is not world class, but he's probably their next best player.
He's good. He's not world class.
What about Sergio Aguero?
He's not world class.
Aguero not anymore.
No. Really? I think it's possible.
A few years ago, he would have been, but at this point in 2021,
he can't even play right now. He's out for at least 3 months with his heart condition. God let him get better soon.
Right. I don't know. I think even his last year with Manchester City was fine, and he's still gonna continue to produce at Barcelona.
I don't know, man. His last year he got benched for KDB at striker. So again, I just don't think they have that many good players. If Xavi can get the best out of them, good for Barcelona. I like Barcelona. I want to see them succeed, but this is going to be a multi-year project, and I think we just need to accept that at this point. Barcelona is not going to get better overnight and turn into a Champions League contender overnight. They're just not. It's going to take years. They're in so much debt that they're going to need to keep selling players and getting money, and then hopefully have people coming from the academy.
You know, I saw a meme a few years ago. I want to say it was 2.5, 3 years ago, and I still remember it to this day. And it was a meme of Barcelona right now, and then Barcelona without Messi. And the Barcelona without Messi is just the AC Milan back, because they just drop off that much. They almost drop off into like nowhere near what they were at all before. They're almost like irrelevant now based upon where they were when they did have Messi. And that's what they were trying to get at there is AC Milan, once a few of their best players left, who really cares about them anymore? So I think that turn around in due time. I want to see them 2 transfer windows first because the squad isn't good enough. And I mean, they're playing Serginho Dest at right wing, and he's clearly not a right wing. He's a right back.
It's so funny to me. Coleman doesn't know what he's doing. Coleman's just out there. He's just out there for having fun. He's just out there like, oh, I'm on the touchline for Barcelona. It's vibes.
I don't even know how he got that Barcelona job in the first place, Joe. Like, I don't understand that. And even interim manager played Serginho Dest at right wing this weekend too. It's like, I don't know how much more you have to see of him to realize he's a right back, not a right winger. Their defense is awful. Their midfield is not good either. They have Pedri and De Jong midfielders, but apart from them, everyone else is past their prime.
Don't forget Puig. I have to shout out my guy on Instagram, Chief. He's a huge Puig stan, so I'm just gonna give him a shout out.
Puig, I like too. I think it'll be another few years before he's like a first team consistent player, but I do like the potential that he's showing right now. But apart from those midfielders, like Ter Stegen solid and Depay is solid, but it's just a really bleak situation. It makes Messi look that much better. That one the team, it literally turned into shambles. But anyway, I'm going to wrap up this week's edition of PTV FC. For our analysts of Louie, Pasculli, and Joe Cammarota making his first debut here with PTV FC, I am Jimmy Bliss. Thank you to our producers, Mateus Bueno and Cooper Tennant, as well as the executive producer at Pirate TV, Christian Gardner, for making all of this possible. Tune in to next week's episode as we keep you updated on all things soccer all year long.